Hello. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and happy to meet you again during this Nina Digital Days. I think it's the 23rd week, and this time we have a different topic. It's about web development. It will be presented by me, Afaf from GDG Algeria, from GDG Plaza. I am a full stack web developer and computer engineering student, also GDG and WTN ambassador. So, uh, before we go further in this presentation, I would like to remind you to not forget to fill the form here on the link so you can get your attendance certificate, and also to join the weekly challenge on the link win some gifts with us. If you finish 6 quests, you can win a gift box of goodies. And if you go further by completing 12 quests, you can have a Google Home Mini. Okay, let's start. So sure, many of us, especially when we were on our beginnings with development, we want someone to show us the right path to go. I'm not gonna say the mistakes to not do, because mistakes are a part of the learning process. And yesterday, I've received so many messages telling me, you're going to do nice topic, nice presentation, but we want to know how to code and how to create a real website, and so on. So interesting, and this is a good question that we all ask before we want to code or to be web developers. That's why I prefer to give this session. So the first thing to say is theory is boring, true, but it's really necessary to know some basics before we start. The second thing is learning by doing is the best way to develop our skills. Whatever the activity we're doing, developing an application, cooking, driving a car, anything we do. So reading and learning the traffic flows, for example, it's necessary, but most interesting is to learn how to drive a real car. Anyways, today we're gonna see what is the web development, and what is the difference between web development and web design, and we should discover later the web development trends in this year that all developers should know, not only beginners, but also who are already developers. By the end, or maybe during this session, I'll try to show you some good resources for learning and some tricks and advices you can take. Sure, you can ask me any question on the chat, and I will try to reply by the end of the session. So let's see, what is web development? Web development is the process of building websites and applications for the internet, or for the private network known as intranets. Web development is not concerned with the design of a website, rather it's all about the coding and programming that powers the website functionality. From the most simple static web pages to social media platforms and apps, e-commerce websites, to content management systems, all the tools we use via internet on a daily basis have been built by web developers. So web development can be broken down into 3 layers clients, the 3 layers like we can see here on the slide: the client side, the server side, and the database technology. For example, for the client side, we have so many technologies, or maybe programming languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and further the frameworks like React and Angular, and maybe the libraries like Bootstrap, jQuery, and so on. We will see this later. For the backend or the server side, so many vast can use prefer PHP or Node, Java, Spring, ASP.NET, and other technologies. For databases, we have usually so many technologies, like for databases, for example, whether it's SQL, NoSQL, or even graph database like Neo4j. That without forgetting that DevOps technologies are really important for us as developers, whether we are web developers, mobile developers, like for deploying our applications or managing our applications. Let's see what we have next. Yes, this is a very interesting question that I've personally asked and all the time wondered what the difference between web development and web design. And you might hear the term web development and web design often used. But in reality, these are two very different things. Let's imagine a web designer and a web developer working together to build a car. The developer would take care of the functional components like the engine, the wheels, while the designer would be responsible for both the visual aspects and for the user experience provided by the car. So whether or not it's smooth drive. So like we can see here on the illustration, a small we have a small comparison between the web designer and the web developer. So the web designer design how the website looks and feels. They model the layouts of the website, making sure it's logical, user-friendly, and pleasant to use. They consider all the different visual elements, what colors and fonts will be used, what button, drop-down menu, and scroll bars should be included, and where. It is the web developer's job to take this design that the web designer did and develop it into life. Like you can see here about the tools that the web designer used, we got Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, Sketch, and so on to design the maquette of the platform or the application or wherever it takes, while the web developer uses the text editors like Visual Studio, Sublime Text, so on, other text editors. Well, if we take a look on the skills, the web designer is more the use languages that makes the website or the applications visible for the user, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and other. So mostly he works for the front. And the web developer uses the technologies, most technologies used for the backend. But that doesn't deny that the web designer can be also a web developer and vice versa. So a person X can be both, and we call this a full stack web developer, or can be just a front-end developer, or maybe just a back-end developer. Everyone with his preferences. Like if I see that I am mostly creative and like colors and fonts, and I like to draw stuff, I think that I may be a front developer mostly, and not a backend developer. If I like more to do more logical stuff and so on, I go for the backend. But my advice for you is to check first everything and then see whether you're good for it or not. Let's see now the 2020 web development trends. So year after year, web development is evolving and changing. The tools and technologies we used 8 years ago have often already been replaced with new alternatives. If you are a web developer or new in, you should really know what's hot on in 2020 and which topics should you be aware of and explore in the new year. Let's start. So the first thing we're gonna talk about is not a trend. It's not a trend at all. Or maybe it's the trend of all times. Yes, the basics. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, with Node.js, of course, are really fundamental for the web development. HTML and CSS for we have HTML for the page, and then we add some colors, some stuff with CSS. And then to make it dynamic, we use JavaScript. Let's see now what's JavaScript, because we really knew it. So JavaScript is a multi-paradigm language that supports event-driven functional and imperative programming styles, including object-oriented and prototype-based. JavaScript was initially used only for the client side. However, these days, JavaScript is used as a server-side programming language as well. To summarize in just a simple sentence, JavaScript is the language of the web. Now we will see the top 8 things to learn in 2020. We got JavaScript frameworks, not only JavaScript, because we said that JavaScript is one of the basics that any web developer should know and really be good in. Then we will see the progressive web apps, the accelerated mobile pages, cross-platform apps, serverless applications, machine learning, artificial intelligence, motion user interfaces, and website performance and optimization. If you have any questions till now, you can ask me on the chat, of course. So let's start with the JavaScript frameworks. Web pages are becoming more dynamic thanks to JavaScript, like we said before. But that was some miss here. A lot of JavaScript files link it to CSS and HTML with non-formal organization. That's why developers are more and more using frameworks. A framework is an abstraction in which software providing generic functionality can be selectively changed by additional user-written code. JavaScript framework is an application framework written in JavaScript where the programmers can manipulate the functions and use them for their convenience. So we have a lot of JavaScript frameworks, not only those shown here on the slides. We have really so many frameworks. I prefer to talk about those, maybe because I use some of them, and also they have a lot of popularity, the community of developers and so on. I'll try to present each one, and then by the end make a comparison between the most of them and see where we can use which one and in which case. So let's start with Angular. You should all, I suppose, that you all heard about Angular. Angular is a framework, Google's framework, is one of the most powerful, efficient, and open source JavaScript frameworks. Google operates this framework and it's implemented to use the developing a single page application. It extends the HTML into the application and interrupts the attributes to perform data binding. Angular is a development platform for building mobile and desktop web applications using TypeScript, JavaScript, and other languages. Let's see now about what about React. So React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces. Um, like you see, it's created by Google and used to build also a single page applications, and it's allowed to create a reusable UI components. I think that both Angular, React, Vue.js, all those frameworks are based on the component UI components principle. I don't know if I would like to give you some resources. So if you want to learn any framework, I suppose that you already good on JavaScript and you've already worked with JavaScript. If you're a beginner, I would like to invite you to go and to learn JavaScript first, to create small projects with JavaScript, then go via frameworks. So if you want to learn any frameworks, Angular or React, the first resource I recommend you to go is the official website. The official website of those frameworks gives not only a presentation for the framework, but also a documentation, and a large documentation, and well explained and well structured. It's really the resource number one to go and to learn from. Let's see the other frameworks, and then I will go and check, and we will go together and check the websites of those frameworks. I think you will find the links for them on the comments on the chat. Now we have Vue.js. Vue.js is also a JavaScript framework that helps a developer in developing front-end single-page application development for web and mobile both. According to many experts, Vue.js ranks high in the category of the satisfied frameworks in JavaScript because it allows a developer to change the content quicker, and it doesn't let the page reload. We can find the biggest companies using Vue.js, such as NASA, GitLab, Monito, Adobe, and so on. And from the advantages of using Vue.js, that it's the easiest framework to learn. So it's really a great entry point for your learning. You can find also a good documentation and good tutorials on the official websites. We have here Ember. I don't know if there is some of you heard about or already heard about Ember or already use it. Me personally, I didn't work with Ember. Angular and React, Vue.js, I've worked with, but Ember.js is an open source, also JavaScript web framework based on the model view model pattern. It allows developers to create scalable single-page web applications by incorporating common idiom and best practice into the framework. It's also possible to build desktop and mobile applications in Ember. There is a lot of companies that's made their websites using Ember, like LinkedIn, Netflix, Apple, and more companies. Node.js is also an open source, but a server-side JavaScript runtime environment which works on cross-platforms. It is also capable of driving asynchronous inputs and outputs with its events-driven architecture. It works in the JavaScript runtime environment and hence shows similar properties of Java, like reading packages, forming of loop, and so on. It's also easy to learn, and I found it very basic. Personally, I prefer working on the backend with Node.js, not PHP. Also, PHP is one of the languages that are simple to learn with a large documentation, and especially if we use some frameworks like Laravel. Let's, before we go to the resources of those frameworks, let's see a comparison for those three frameworks, Angular, Vue.js, and React.js. Those percentage are the percentage of developers using each one. We can see that React.js, which is not a framework but a library, is the most used by developers. But it's great when you would like to create a single page application as provided by Facebook and Instagram. AngularJS is a good option if you want to add a data-heavy widget to an existing page, and it's also great for single-page applications as provided by Google. Vue.js is good when you would like to have simpler learning, as I said before, a simpler learning curve for your team, and you want to finish fast your project because it have a large community. So according to Stack Overflow developer survey made on 2019, React.js and Vue.js both are the most loved and most wanted web frameworks by developers because they are easiest to learn, with a large community, and with a large number of developers using this. Before we go further in this presentation, I would like to go with you and let's check the official the official website of those frameworks. So you can see that there is a good documentation, well structured. We have here, for example, the React.js official website. Here, it shows us how we can install the React.js and how to implement the first example, React for beginners. And I'm sure that those who are not beginners or those who've already worked with other frameworks, it's going to be easy for them to check the documentation, or maybe to go in multiple resources, not only the official website, but that's always what I recommend developers, beginners to do, is to go to the official website and check it, and check the documentation, the examples, and so on. Without forgetting that there is certainly many other resources, like we get here on the Level Up tutorial. Level Up tutorials is the tutorials well explained and really amazing. This is their website. Some courses are paid courses, but there is others on YouTube, on their YouTube channel as well. I will let all those resources on the comments. You can check them anytime you want. You can find here on this website also tutorials about not only the JavaScript frameworks, but about so many other technologies, about design tools, and so on. You can practice via many projects, which is the best way to learn. We went to React. You can go to the Vue.js website as well, and you can find the same thing, documentation, examples, maybe videos, I think. For the other resources to learn JavaScript, let's see, I've noticed some here, in addition to those two, the Level Up tutorial, I think, but I put some. Yes, the JavaScript mystery YouTube channel. Person, he have a lot of videos, are really amazing, well explained, and it gives you the ability to learn via an examples. It doesn't have only JavaScript or React tutorials, but so many others. Uh, like you can see here, there is so many videos. There is also the Code Academy. Yes, Code Academy, Free Code Camp, Web Dev Simplified. All those YouTube channels, websites are really good resources where you can learn in a structured way, not like learning something and then forgetting about her, because it will oblige you somehow to learn that stuff and then directly do something with it and then directly go to the code. Like I said before, all those resources, you can find them on the comment. So let's go further. We have the PWA. PWA, or maybe Progressive Web Apps. When we say Progressive Web Apps, for us as web developers, we can build amazing user experience interfaces on the web. But would it be great if we could use our experience and knowledge as web developers to build not only websites, but also mobile applications or maybe desktop applications? Yes, we can do this. So progressive web apps are not a phenomenon of this year. It's not something new, but developers community have already noticed that it's great potential since it helps business to be improved as well. This technology is already being used by top players like Google, AliExpress, who reached a 100% increase in retention and conversion rates. You can try it with for example, now on your mobile phone, on the browser with the Twitter websites, and then on the settings, you can choose the progressive web app functionality. You will find that the application have been installed like virtual real applications without installing it from the Google Play. It will be installed directly on your phone from the browser, and it will not consume space on your memory. It also will be opened as an application, as a mobile application, while it's not. About the accelerated mobile pages, this is really something special because it's good to optimize your pages for mobile users. However, it's the mobile browser pages are not loading quickly. I think that there is a study. It shows that about 14% of people will abandon a web page that takes more than 3 seconds to load. Yes. Furthermore, if an online shopping site is making, for example, I don't know, 100,000 per day, a second page delay, 1 second, just 1 second page delay could potentially cost you $2.5 million in lost sales every year, just because your web page made 1 second delay. So the AMP, accelerated mobile pages plugin, was born out of the collaboration between Google and Twitter. In a simple term, what is accelerated mobile pages is an open source initiative project designed to optimize faster mobile pages. It's like taking a page that's already mobile friendly and making it load quickly by stripping it down to basics. How? You may ask me, how is this possible? So the AMP plugin renders your mobile page more quickly by cutting back on the HTML code tag manager aspects and rendering only the ones that are suitable for the mobile users. If JavaScript is included in your mobile pages, and this is for sure there is JavaScript scripts, the script won't be rendered for your accelerated mobile pages. Only necessary elements will be rendered in the page. That's why it will not look the same, but it will be rendered really fast. So when you integrate the AMP plugin and use it to improve your mobile pages, what should matter to you more is speed and readability, not shareability. Your social share button may not even display properly since the majority of them are developed using JavaScript. If you want to learn more about accelerated mobile pages, you can visit the official website, of course. You will find there that, let's check it. Let's check it so we can see what we have. Oh, this is the official website for the plugin. We can see that there is AMP for website. I don't know, a few years ago there were only for websites, accelerated mobile pages for websites, then for ads, then for emails, and lately they added for stories. We found that websites like the New York Times and so on are using this AMP stories. If we go for documentation, for example, components, it will show us how it will look if we use here. Here are the multiple components that we can use. For example, if we click here on the AMP carousel, it will give us the scripts, and also it will show us how it will look if we use the accelerated mobile pages plugin. If we compare it with the one used, the original code, non-accelerated, and then for the accelerated. If you check on Google, the websites that uses the AMP are all of them here signed by this icon. So you can know if this website is accelerated or not, if it's gonna be shown fast or not. And it's really a good thing to learn and to implement in your websites later, especially for those who are using e-commerce websites. It had an interesting plugin with WordPress. We can implement it easily with WordPress. So let's continue. We have here the cross-platform apps. Sure, you've already heard about the cross-platform apps. So cross-platform apps development frameworks allow developers to create mobile applications that are compatible with more than one operating system. In this case, iOS and Android, both of them. We know that iOS uses usually for building its applications Swift or maybe C, and Android uses Java or lately Kotlin. Those are different platforms, different languages, and if a developer wants to create an application that runs on both systems, iOS and Android, it should develop two different applications and two different codes, or maybe with two different teams if the developers teams are not good in one of the programming language. It provides them with the ability to write the code once. So the cross-platform apps will allow us to write the code only once and then run it in anywhere for other platforms too. We have here a small definition of both comparison between native applications and cross-platform applications. So the native applications are the developer focus only in generating one application that runs on only one device, while the cross-platform will generate an app that covers a wide number of NAND devices. If we do a little comparison between them, for example, for the cost, the native apps are high cost of development. Let's imagine that I want to develop an application that runs on both iOS and Android, but I'm not going to use the cross-platform apps. So I have first two teams, I have two programming languages. It will cost me to pay both developers. We have also the communication between both teams that are working on the same application but with different code. So it will cause a lot of problems. While, but it's we have that native is good as well, since it uses a native programming language for a specific device. So for the UI consistency, also consistent with the UI component of the device for the native, while we have a limited consistency with the UI component of the device. If you talk about the performance, we have high on performance, but lag and hardware compatibility issue are not uncommon about the cross-platform apps. For the cross-platform apps, we have multiple languages. We got lately Flutter. We have Ionic, Xamarin. Like also Xamarin uses C# for its development. For native, we have, for example, for mobile applications, Java. For Android, or maybe Kotlin. For desktop applications, we have applications developed with C#. You can use all wherever you're comfortable with the language, or it depends on what you really want. It depends also on the budget you got if you have a company, for example. For 5, we have the fifth trend here is serverless application. Like you can see here, I wrote on the slide, focus on your application, not the infrastructure. Serverless application doesn't mean that we don't use a server anymore. We're just focusing on the application, not the infrastructure. I think you get it here that we're talking about something like cloud. Yes. So serverless is a cloud computing execution model where the cloud provider dynamically manage the allocation and providing of servers. A serverless application runs in stateless compute containers that are event triggered. So it's really good to learn more about serverless applications and use it while deploying our application. So we as developers focus more on our code and not see if we have the right infrastructure to deploy our application. The next thing is the buzz here. So machine learning and artificial intelligence are undeniably making the buzz those days, or maybe for before 2 years or more, in all fields. In addition to that, both are one of the fastest moving industries. Besides making interaction with websites, visitors, or helping with a quick search, artificial intelligence and machine learning are widely used in website design and development. You can take advantage of these two technologies to enhance your business, especially in user experience with, for example, chatbots, automated automated responses. You can also use tools like guest.js to preload assets and require code in a smart way. This can help with performance optimization and provide a better user experience. So if you're interested in having a better user experience to augment your business, it will be suitable and recommended for you to implement machine learning and AI with in your websites or in your platform while developing by including chatbots and yes. What do we got here? Yes, we have so the motion user interface. Motion UI is all about making things bounce around the screen. Not only is motion UI becoming important to interface design and approach, but it also drives the entire UI during custom web development. It increases the device's computing capabilities to smoothly execute complex animations. When users interact with your products, I think that we've been all the time saying that we're thinking about the user all the time that will use our products. So for the accelerated mobile apps or for the anything we talk here, we're all the time thinking about our client to have it better user experience. So they might ask the following questions while I'm checking any website. So what's the most important here on this website? How do I know what to do next? How do I know if I have completed my tasks? All these are really important to be specified on our UI. So questions like this might reveal opportunities to use motion to enhance the experience. Motion helps designers create a better user experience. Why? Because it drives users' attention and hints at what will happen on top. It helps you orient the users and it provides a visual feedbacks. For the motion user interfaces, we have some libraries that you can use, like animate.css or maybe Framer Motion for React. For those who are using React, Framer Motion is an excellent motion user library, or maybe animate.js. All those resources, libraries can help you to have a better user experience. So, website performance and optimization. Performance includes startup time, runtime performance, and also the user experience. This really matters, especially if we have a low speed of internet, and since we're building more and more complex user interfaces, we should also consider performance and Hello. Sorry for this interruption. Can you please tell me where I stopped so I can continue from? I don't know if you could, I could finish all the slides because maybe I stopped somewhere. Talking about the website performance optimization, and I did some. I was um, learning is the best way to do this. So if you do more projects, you more you learn, and more you can be a good developer. Uh, Always many projects. I feel like I'm not do that. Please stop. Well, do more projects. Learn from all the developers. See GitHub projects. Already some will have also working in team projects also is a good way. About the